Howdy, everybody. Steve here, KM9G. This is the Radioddity Black Friday live stream sale. We've got a whole bunch of deals for you from Radioddity. I think we've all done a lot of shopping today, and hopefully there's still a lot more deals coming out as the day goes on. Josh over at Ham Radio Crash Course, thanks for the shout out on the end of your stream. And everybody, welcome from Josh's stream over here. Much appreciated. If you are not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below. We do the Black Friday sales every Black Friday. We also do the Prime Day sales and the Prime event, whatever it is, the one that comes up in October. We did that one too. I'm always trying to get more deals into your hands to save y'all some more money and get y'all more things to play with. And today is no exception. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to post a link in the chat that'll get you right to this list. This is all of the deals that Radioddity has for Black Friday. We'll start out at the top of the list because, you know, the top is the best place to start. Otherwise, you got to go to the bottom and work back up to the top, and we're going to get there anyway. The GD88. This is actually a really interesting radio. I've got a bunch of videos on my channel, including one about how to do code plugs a very easy way. I break it down into a nice metaphor that hopefully helps make a little bit of sense of what all the terms mean and how you can kind of fit them into your lifestyle, what they kind of mean. This is an interesting radio. It's got a very modern screen, good color screen to it. It has some good sounding audio as well. It's got a different user interface with some icons. Let me see if they show you the icons anywhere. No, of course not. It is full duplex, and it is this very interesting repeater setup. Let's get rid of the honey deal thing, where you can repeat from like a Baofeng UV5R through this on analog to the other side of this radio, the repeater part of it, and the other side can go out DMR. And then you can repeat that to another DMR radio somewhere else, which can then also repeat it back to analog. So you could have two UV5Rs talking to each other longer distances over DMR. It's an interesting thing to play with. It's on sale today for $175.99. The other thing, I don't know if I'd mentioned this yet or not, this does full duplex. So you can work with the satellites on this, which is one of the reasons that I was interested in this in the first place. And I want to actually try to work some satellites because that would be very interesting. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have the Baofeng DM1701. I showed you this in the earlier Amazon Black Friday deals stream because it popped up there. And it comes up as a OpenGD77 compatible radio, which is going to be really slick. This one's a lot more affordable than the last one. This is $71.99, and it's actually pretty neat because with the OpenGD77, again, it has some extra satellite tracking features in it that help you, work with the Doppler shift as the bird goes overhead. I have not used that because I haven't done any satellite work yet, but I am really excited to play with that one day. Today is not that day. Today is Black Friday is what today is. So $71.99 for that one. The GS5B. This is interesting because this radio has Bluetooth programming built in. So you get the ability to program it over your cell phone. And it has two PTT buttons on the side. So you can PTT on VFO-A as well as PTT on VFO-B without changing from A to B. Just so long as A and B are on your screen, you can PTT from the both of them. And it has a really interesting display with a signal strength meter. So you'll be able to do radio direction finding if you want, or just, satisfy your curiosity of what the signal strength is. I've done video on this radio on my channel as well to get you some more info on it. I took it out and did some programming and played with it. USB-C charging, which is all the rage these days, which is fantastic. Double check real quick if it is USB-C, because this is an older radio and this might have been one of the first ones with USB-C programming. And this is the one, this one's so old that this was back when Steve Goodgame had his own channel, and he was taking a shower with this radio. So just a warning, if you see it on Goodgame's channel, probably don't want to watch it. I'm kidding. Steve's a good guy. All right, next up is the GA510. This is a 10-watt ham radio. I'm actually interested in getting this one here to play with it. Number one, I want to verify that it is in fact 10 watts. I want to see how clean it is. And 10-watt handheld is an amazing thing. This one's $43.99. It is analog only. Comes with 2 batteries, your charging cradle, your super secret FBI earpiece, and the USB programming cable. And that is the CH340 chip, which is automatically recognized by most modern operating systems. Yeah, I'm sure there are laws out about showering with a radio. There's laws about everything now. It's kind of crazy. All right, the GC5. This is a radio that I have a review that I need to finish editing on. It's an interesting radio. It is clean at high power, and then it is not clean in terms of spurious emissions at low power. This is the Radioddity flavor of the Baofeng UV19, and it has the same screen interface as the UV17, but it's a little bit different of a radio, and not a bad price at $20 today. I mean, you can't go wrong with a $20 radio. I mean, you could use it as a tire chalk for 20 bucks and it would still be pretty good. Speaking of the UV17, I just did a review on this radio as well as a review on what the features are that are different between the UV5R and the UV17. This is another one of those dirty radios. However, the price is pretty good, $25.54, and the features are pretty interesting. It'll help you with scanning for repeater tones and cloning frequencies from another radio that's nearby so you can talk to them a lot quicker without having to go through the manual programming of the radio. So it does have some pretty neat features, and Baofeng is hinting that this will have some open source software in the future. They're asking if they can send over the open source software development kit and some of the features that go along with that. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do with that. So even if you get it and just use it on 70 centimeters where there aren't really spurious emissions requirements, it would still be pretty neat. The GT5R is a known clean Baofeng radio. And there are a couple of clean ones. This one here is the one that they have specifically designed to be clean. Most things for 20 bucks are dirty. That is true. There you go. USB batteries for the UV5R would be a fantastic addition to your life, Eric. I totally agree with that. I have a USB charging cradle docking station for my UV5R that I've used quite a bit, and I like it. So there's another clean Baofeng for you. There aren't many, but that is one of them. We've got the Raddy. This one here, the SW10, I did a review on this a long time ago. This is a pretty neat little device. It has 18650 battery in it. So you can actually just use it as an 18650 battery charger if you have a bunch of 18650 cells that you use for flashlights or other things. You can use this as a power bank to recharge your cell phone. It is a hand crankable radio for emergency situations when there is no power and when its own battery is drained, and it can act as like a lantern or a flashlight. So this is one of those things that's really good for camping because it serves a lot of different purposes in a small little box. And it comes in red, which is my favorite color. The Raddy with the shortwave phone controlled radio. This one's pretty neat, and it does come with an extendable antenna here that's pretty long and helps you. It does actually help you bring in some much more distant reception. Obviously, as we all know, more wire in the air is better for something along these lines. But I would definitely like put it up a mast or stick it into a tree or something along those lines. But this one here is pretty neat. I have not reviewed this one, but the software looks exactly like the other software that they have. They have 2 more models of this, and we'll take a look at those 2 because they're also on Black Friday deals. I think these things just look pretty neat. 2960 might get somebody interested. I like the old-fashioned dial that they have on the center display there. Pretty neat little deal. And then this one here is the one that I reviewed. This one actually, for how small it actually sounds really good. There is a speaker on the front, and then there is another speaker on the rear of this. So it actually has quite a good bit of dynamic range. The one drawback to this shortwave radio is that it doesn't have SSB receive mode. It'll do AM, FM, VHF, shortwave, airband, and weatherband, but it will not do sideband, which is just kind of weird. So think of this as pretty much everything except for ham. What else do we have? The Xiegu radios are on sale. The Xiegu X6100, I have done, as you all well know, lots and lots of videos on this. This one's almost $100 off, $90 off at $549. This radio is a fantastic toy. It's a kind of a jack of all trades, but if you are looking for ICOM 705 quality in this radio, first off, you're going to be missing two bands. The 2 meter and the 70 centimeter band are not included in this, but it's kind of not as good in some regards, and it's a little bit better in other regards. So there's two features about this that really stand out to me. Well, three, but the two that stand out in terms of radios are the ability for this to have its own built-in tuner in a nice small package, which is fantastic, and the SWR scanner that this thing has. So if you're going out with either A, without an antenna and you have to improvise one in the field, or B, with an antenna that needs some fine tuning, like a coil-based antenna that's got a high Q on it, the built-in SWR scanner on this is, worth the price of admission. I have a mag loop antenna and a 705, and it's almost impossible to use because it's not very frequency agile. Where something like this with the SWR scanner, you could move to the frequency that you think somebody's on, then you can do into the SWR scanner, and in real time, as it's scanning back and forth, you can tune the mag loop and get it right into resonance where it belongs, and then you can work that station and not have to worry about running the auto tuner as much. Running an auto tuner on a mag loop, it will work. It'll get you a little bit wider coverage, but it's really not a good idea. The third thing that I like about this radio, obviously you guys know me, is that it is hackable, and there is a working Linux operating system for it, as well as a complete alternative firmware from our buddy Oleg R1CBU over in Russia. And our venerable G90, the AK-47 of ham radios. This one's $399, so it's also around $100 off. And then there's a couple of extra savings promotions here. If you add the VG4 antenna, you get 10% on that. If you get the G90H2 holder, I think that is the fan stand. Is that the fan stand? That is not the fan stand. That's the front face stand. So what you're getting is this little bail on the bottom and replaceable ears. It already comes with ears, but you're getting the upgraded version. And what is the third promotion? You have the ability to save 10% on the antenna or 5% on the antenna. Okay. But that antenna, I've also done a review on the VG4 antenna. That's a pretty neat antenna. 4 bands on a 25-foot tall antenna. And the G90 isn't as hackable. It still is hackable, but it's not as hackable as the X6100. The X6100 has the Linux firmware installed. This is more of an appliance. And this also has that same SWR scanner, and this thing has an amazing tuner built into it. It can tune just about anything. And this is a great little starter radio for $399. Tell you whether you like ham radio HF or not, and then you can keep it, put it in a go box, and take it out with you and upgrade to a better radio like a FD891. The FD891, you're going to lose the color screen. You're going to lose the internal tuner. You're going to lose the SWR scanner. You're going to lose the waterfall display. But you're going to gain two gains. One is you're going to go from 20 watts to 100 watts, and two is that you're going to get very, very good audio quality out of the FD891 from Yaesu. But this is a great place to be. 20 watts is like that sweet spot on HF, where just enough power that you're not frustrated, but not enough power that you're spending a ton of money to get into the hobby. So that's pretty interesting. Yep, you're right. You lost audio. I was being polite. I muted the microphone so that I didn't cough in your ears, and then I forgot to unmute. So LB4FH is right about the frequencies. I was saying that the G90 has this little chip. If you open it up, there's a silkscreen arrow on the circuit board. Legend has it, rumor has it, that points directly to the chip you're supposed to remove in order to do the open transmit. On the X6100, there's just a software file. You log into the radio over SSH because it's a Linux-based radio, and you edit a text file and reboot the radio, and ta-da! it transmits on all bands and all frequencies now. Yeah, I was acting out the radio. What's the next deal we have? We have the Radioddity QT40. This is kind of an interesting radio also. I really am waiting for people to come out and start hacking on this radio because I see some potential. What I am looking for is a good audio interface for this. When I saw the specs and it said data port, I thought it meant like USB sound card data port, but that's just a programming serial port on the back of it. It's a pretty slick looking little radio. It's kind of an attractive, throws back to, Granddad's CB that he had in the truck or on the bench out in the garage. It's channelized, but being that it's channelized, it's kind of an interesting thing. It has this band knob here in the lower middle, and you go through A through F, which gets you a chunk of frequency space. And then under A through F, you use the big knob to go through a number of channels, and you basically can tune in every single station. Because once you get through there, then you go over to the fine tuning knob, and you can go another 5 kilohertz in either direction. So even though it's channelized, you can still work every single frequency on 10 meters. This is a 10 meter only radio, and they call these like 10 meter export radios. There is a little jumper inside of this radio that is very easy for you to change over from 10 meters only to 10, 11, and 12 to open up the frequencies even more. And then that changes all of the built-in channels when you do that so that you can also access all of those frequencies. Todd's saying his average distance on the G90 with only 1 watt of power is 5,000 miles. Just awesome. I did the Mars mod on my G92. It only took 5 minutes in and out. Totally awesome. 27 megahertz FT8 would be great. For this price tag, $169.99, and the ability to do data modes, you can still do data modes. You just have to make an interface cable, and I haven't gotten far enough to be able to make the interface cable yet. It's a great entry level into 10 meter FT8, and with the way the solar cycle is going to be for the next year or two, you get a lot of fun out of that. Lindsay Hicks, you are here now. Welcome. Do you cut the piece off or do you have to unsolder? For the QT40, it's a jumper. You just move it left to right. For the G90, you just unsolder it, and then you can put it back to normal by putting it back on. If I was to do that mod, and when I do that mod on the channel, you'll see it in the video. What I'm going to do is remove it, and then I'm going to tape it up, wrap it up so it's not electrically active if it moves around inside the case, and tape it back down in so that way it's there when I ever need it. Because what am I going to do with a 0 watt surface mount resistor? Assuming that's what it is. All right, let's get back and see what the next deal is. The CS47. This is a small little CB radio, $75.99 on sale, down from $99.99. So you save $25 on this. I did a review on the CS47 or the CS27. I don't remember off the top of my head, but this is a great little CB radio. It does the thing, and everything is driven from the microphone. So you can see the body of the radio down here doesn't really have anything at all going on because everything is done up here on the microphone. And you can change the colors of the display readout on the microphone to all your favorite CB radio colors that you all are used to. There's a good look at it. Purple, yellow, green, blue, cyan, olive, I guess they call that, or red. I think the cyan was the color that looked the best on camera when I did the review on that. But yeah, it's a neat little device. And this is AM or FM. So again, a good way to get your feet wet. And it has active noise cancellation, and it also has some noise reduction features built in. And it sounds pretty good for speakers coming out of the, audio coming out of the microphone. Todd's asking what the other arrows are for the G90. I'm not 100% sure myself. It's probably typically what these are, and I'm just taking a guess here. It's probably the opening up other bands. So you can either do the Mars mod and do a full open, or you can do one or the other of those resistors and open up different bands that the radio can operate on inside of different countries. So you probably have the US model. All right, what's the next deal we have? The CB27. Okay, so it was the CS47 that I did a review on. I did not review the CB27, which is what this model is. Comes with a cigarette lighter plug already on it, and that is probably hardwired. Yeah, that is hardwired on the back of the radio. You can see it right here. For hams, what I recommended in an earlier video today, cut this cord in half and put Anderson power poles on both sides. Now you have a cigarette lighter plug to power pole adapter, and then you have a power pole going into your radio, and you can use it in the car or in the shack, depending on how you feel. But you kind of get an idea of how small this thing is, looking at it as it's in its native natural habitat inside the car. Let's see, this is also AM and FM. And how many watts is this one? Should be 4 watts. If it says, there was a trick this morning, questions, and search for watts. 5 watts. Does anybody know what the watts are? JD says 5 watts, and Tom says very little. I'm guessing 50 watts or less. Tom doesn't seem to know much about CB radios, because there's a legal barrier you have to cross there for CB radios. There was one of these are obviously photoshopped videos where they put the radio inside the vehicle on a stock photo. But there was one of these the other day where it showed a battery pack, but the battery pack looked like it was the size of an Igloo or a Yeti cooler. And I knew it wasn't the size of an Igloo or a Yeti cooler. Number one, the price was wrong for it. Number two, it was only 100 amp hours. And a 100 amp hour cooler sized battery? No, that dog won't hunt. That don't make no sense. Yeah, Eric, that's what I was saying. It's limited to 4 watts, but sometimes they make lesser powerful radios, 1 watts or 2 watts, or I just wanted to double check. But it certainly isn't a 50-watt CB radio. That would just be crazy. The GM-N1 GMRS radios are on sale. You get a pair of these radios. These have the HD audio feature, and these just run through the regular channels. There's no buttons on the front. There is a fixed antenna on the inside. These are pretty neat. These are like little pocket-sized radios. They work out really well, and I use these. They are micro USB charging, and I carry these with me in the RV for when we're backing the trailer up. I did a review on these on my channel as well, on my ham radio channel, and they work really well. Noise canceling, long range 2-way radios for adults. No children allowed to touch these. All right, up next, the DB25-G GMRS mobile radio. This radio, you've seen this shape of radio with a couple of different features. One of them is a quad bander. This one here is the GMRS radio. They do have dual band radios as well, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, but this one here is the GMRS radio. If you guys are in the chat and you've used GMRS radios before to talk to somebody who is not someone that you personally handed a radio to, how did you do it? What channel did you use? Where were you? Was it through a repeater? Was it just simplex? How did that work out for you? This one is 8668. Let me get the link to this in the chat real quick for you guys again, because I don't know, it's been a while since it's scrolled by. But it's also in the description of the video. The GM30, this is also another great entry-level handheld GMRS radio. I did a review on this as well. It's very well built, feels good in the hand, feels like you actually paid something. $51.99. This is a 2-pack for $51.99. It does have a bunch of extra features in it, like the display sync and the weather scanning. And obviously, it's GMRS, so it's got to be made for off-roading and overlanding, because that's how GMRS works. These are 5 watts, long range, as long as, I mean, we know this, again, for adults, long range. We know how this works. If there's nothing in the way, the signal goes longer. This is the Baofeng UV9G, and this also appears to be a GMRS radio. Yep, UV9G GMRS radio. This one here comes with an improved antenna, as well as the 2 FBI earpieces, and it's got that weird connector on the side. It's not using the standard K connector. I want to call this a Motorola connector, but I don't know what the name is. This is the kind that you see on the Motorola radios all the time. And I think they do that because it helps improve the waterproofosity, the IP67 waterproofosity of the radio. Yes, I just made that word up. And there's some extra promotions along with this. A 6-way charger, 8% off. An extra battery, 5% off. and a speaker 10% off if you get this one here. Yeah, on the poker stream yesterday, Jim gave away his Flex. He was such a nice guy. He's remote ham radio all the way now. If I say more about Jim giving away his Flex radio, he'll show up on stream and defend his honor. All right, next up is the UV5X. The UV5X radio. It says UV5X, probably to get UV5R fame, but it's actually a UV5G. The UV5G is the GMRS version. So we've got a bunch of GMRS radios in here. This one here supports chirp for programming, and you do get 2 in this box for $39.99. That's a heck of a deal. $20 off for 2 GMRS radios. This is a great way to get your feet wet. GMRS doesn't really require a test. You should probably read the GMRS requirements for maintaining your license and how often you should say your call sign and what they mean by family. But other than that, it's a $35 one-time fee to the FCC. They give you a license, and then you can do GMRS radios like this all the way up to 50 watts on some channels. And they do have, as we've shown you earlier, GMRS mobile radios as well as GMRS handheld radios. And the GMRS radios also very, very often, I've never seen one that hasn't, covered the lower part of the spectrum area in that allocation for FRS as well. And they'll turn their power down as required. I think FRS is 2 watts. So if you have anybody that's on FRS, you can do FRS with these radios also. The UV5G Plus, this is another GMRS radio. This is a new radio where it's kind of got that old UV5R body, but it has a bigger color display. That color display looks pretty nice. Very 8-bit-esque. Real 5 watts. So they've tested it out. Let's see what they show. Real 5 watts, and then the display that they show is 4.84 watts. Nice. And then at 3 watts, it is real 3 watts. And at 1 watt, it shows, at half a watt, it shows half a watt transmitting. That'd be interesting. And this is the same tester that I use when I test out the radios myself. They're using it into a dummy load. I'm going to have to do a dummy load versus the antenna comparison. Usually I use a ground plane attached to the side of the meter and the radio that it comes with, the antenna that the radio comes with. That's what I meant to say. This is the UV5G Plus. This is a single radio. Get out of the way, honey. $27.99. You save $7 on this for the the Black Friday sale. All right, we have the Baofeng BF88ST. Again, walkie-talkies for adults. It's interesting. No love for the children. Portable two-way radio, hands-free Vox, USB charging, rechargeable radios. This 7 radios. These have no keys. There's not really a whole lot of programming you can do. These are friends only. Again, these we were talking about in the last stream could be in the field, like a race event during the day. I used to do parking lot races, autocross type events, and these would be good. Or these would also be good side of a single building, a large building where you're working on a project with a team of people. Yep. So RS radio have their purpose. These are usually, I think, 2 watts max, and the antenna is so you cannot take it off. You might be able to overpower it and muscle your way through it and a better antenna on it to get some more range out of it, but you'd be breaking the rules of FRS if you did that. Finally, we get down to some kid stuff for kids. So this is for both. How nice of them. And these are blue. And if they're saying for kids, I'm going to assume that these are FRS. Talking range 3 miles. So it's got weather, 12 NOAA channels built in, 48-hour standby, takes 2 hours to charge. It'll work off of 3 AA batteries, or comes with a 1400 milliamp hour rechargeable. Hands-free talking. I guess you can just monitor your kids all day long. No programming needed. Let's see. What does it say? Does anybody tell you that it's FRS? Nah. Anybody tell you it's not FRS? Nah. We're just going to assume those are FRS radios. Seems like a safe bet. What do you guys think? Yeah. The FRS radios are nice. I mean, they're certainly trying to make it attractive. And then the last deal that we have here is the Radioddity FS-T3. This is a 4-pack, one of each of your favorite colors. 22 channels, license-free USB charging. So when they say license-free, that's another nod that these are probably FRS radios. 4 radios, 4 batteries, 4 lanyards. Looks like the kids are having fun. And this is $32.99 for 4 radios. This will be fun for the whole family. Looks like it's got a USB charger, which is good. Perfect. And that is the last of the Radioddity deals. Are those kids safe? I really can't tell you whether those kids are safe or not, but I would assume so because they looked happy in the picture. They could have been in distress and calling for help and just faking that they looked safe so that nobody caught on to them. But there is the deal. Everybody, thank you very much for stopping by. This is the Radioddity Black Friday deal stream. We will see you all tomorrow morning on Coffee and Ham Radios. Jim is going to show us remote ham radio. Thanks for being awesome, everybody.